The room turns quiet in a way that feels like falling. I'm sitting at the mahogany conference table with 12 other people, and Victoria just said the words that made everyone stop breathing. "Oh, they're just an assistant," she laughed, her voice cutting through the conversation like something sharp. What would they know about vendor management? I'm looking at my hands. They're steady. That surprises me a little. Maybe I already knew this moment was coming. The room is waiting to see what I'll do. Will I argue? Will I defend myself? Will I shrink smaller, the way everyone expects the assistant to shrink? I don't say anything. Not because I'm defeated. Not because I agree. I stay quiet because I've been preparing for this. For months, I've been reading contracts, documenting decisions, and watching patterns repeat until they became clear. I knew Victoria saw me as small. What I learned was that being underestimated is sometimes the best protection you can have. Her smile is confident. She's sitting next to my boss, James, who runs Caldwell Industries. She's been coming into the office more often lately, offering suggestions, making decisions, inserting herself into conversations that were never hers to join. Now she's just openly dismissed me in front of vendors and staff. My silence doesn't comfort her. I can feel it making her nervous instead. There's something in my stillness that frightens her. The smile that cuts is the kind you remember forever. It's not mean exactly. It's worse than that. It's the smile of someone who doesn't think you're worth their anger. Victoria leans back in her chair, pleased with herself, and looks around the table to see who laughs. A few people do. Quiet laughs. The uncomfortable kind. The kind that sound like people are following rules they don't believe in. James clears his throat. He won't look at me. That's the part that actually hurts. He knows something is wrong about this moment. He knows his wife just humiliated someone in front of 5 vendors and 3 of his own staff. But he says nothing. His silence is his own kind of agreement. The vendors are watching me carefully. Mr. Okafor from Precision Parts is looking at me like he's trying to read my face, trying to understand what just happened. He's been our vendor for 3 years. He knows who actually handles our relationship. He knows who calls when there's a problem. His confusion is clear across the table. I pick up my water glass. I drink slowly. I put it down. My hands don't shake. Inside, something is crystallizing. A thought forms. Clear and cold, she just made this so much worse for herself. Rewind 3 years. I walk into Caldwell Industries on a Monday morning, and James is introducing me to the team. "Everyone, this is Casey," he says, putting his hand on my shoulder. "They're going to be our new office coordinator. Going to help us scale things up." "I'm taking a support role," he says. Office coordinator. It sounds small. It's supposed to sound small. The truth is, he needed someone he could trust to keep the entire business running while he focused on sales and growth. Someone like me. Someone named Casey, who showed up that Monday ready to prove something. I was grateful then. That's important to remember. I wasn't bitter about the title. I believed in James. He promised that if I proved myself, if I worked hard and showed I understood the business, we'd grow together. He said it casually, over coffee on my second day. "You could run this place one day, Casey," he said. "If you wanted to." I believed him completely. That's the part that matters. I actually believed that loyalty and competence and showing up every single day would mean something real. The office is small then. Just 5 people total. James, me, a sales rep named Wilson, and 2 warehouse workers. We're all doing everything. James is closing deals. I'm coordinating shipments, managing vendor calls, fixing problems that nobody else even knows need fixing. When a vendor calls with an issue, they ask for Casey specifically. When a deadline is missed, I'm the one who calls to apologize and makes it right. I start staying late. Not because I'm asked. Because things need doing, and I'm the one who sees them. Quiet work produces loud results. That's what I learned in my first year at Caldwell. We sign a major contract with Precision Parts. It's worth $200,000. James takes the credit in the meeting. I stay behind after everyone leaves and read every single clause. I find a critical mistake in the payment terms. I call Mr. Okafor and fix it before it costs us $50,000. James never knows about that mistake. He finds out later that we saved money somehow, and he's pleased, but he doesn't ask how. He just assumes good fortune. He starts taking bigger risks because he trusts that things will work out. Except they work out because I'm reading every contract carefully. By year 2, we're bigger. 15 employees now. James is out more. He's building the company. I'm building something too, though nobody names it that way. I'm building the foundation he walks on every day. I'm making sure that when he closes a deal, the operations side can handle it. When a vendor threatens to leave, I'm the one who talks them back. The systems I create are invisible because they work. When something breaks, everyone sees it. When something runs smoothly, nobody notices the hands that made it possible. I accept this. I think it's part of being the person who makes things work. I think one day it will matter. That day never comes. But I keep working like it will. Kindness misread becomes a pattern that feeds on itself. I'm good at solving problems. I'm better at staying calm when others panic. When someone makes a mistake, I fix it quietly instead of announcing it. When someone is struggling, I help without making them feel stupid or incompetent. I have a boss who I respect, so I work hard and ask for very little in return. Then Victoria enters the picture. She's beautiful and confident, and James is instantly captivated. They're married 6 months later. Suddenly, she's in the office twice a week, offering opinions about decisions she doesn't understand. She watches me work and decides that my kindness is weakness. My refusal to take credit becomes proof that I'm not worthy of credit. She starts saying things. Small things at first. Oh, you're still here? Must be nice to have so much time on your hands. Or, I don't understand why James pays you so much for what seems like basic tasks. Or, any assistant could do this. I should be angry. I think about being angry. But anger would mean defending myself, and defending myself would mean making James uncomfortable. So I swallow it. I smile. I work harder. I think if I just prove myself more, she'll see. She'll understand. She'll stop. She doesn't stop. She gets bolder. I'm the one who becomes smaller. Not physically. Inside. That's when I start reading the contracts differently. Not for the work. For myself. The vendor problem arrives on a Tuesday morning. A company called Meridian Supply wants to expand our partnership significantly. It's the biggest contract we've ever had. $2 million over 5 years. James is thrilled. Victoria is thrilled. She wants to be part of closing this deal. She wants to sign the agreement herself. I read the contract first. It's lengthy. 60 pages. Hidden in page 43 is a clause I flag immediately. It states that any changes to the vendor relationship, any renegotiation or termination, must be authorized by the primary signatory listed at the beginning of the agreement. That person is the one who originally signed the contract. I read who signed our previous agreements with Caldwell Industries. Me. Every single one. James never signed them. He never had to. The partnerships were small enough that he delegated the authority to me. I flagged this in the contract memo. I tell James the clause is unusual. I explain what it means. If Victoria signs as the new primary representative, we're changing the power structure. If something goes wrong, she has the authority to make decisions. If someone needs to renegotiate, they come to her. James says, that's fine. Victoria wants to handle vendor relationships now. That makes sense. I point it out again. I'm careful. I'm professional. I explain that this gives her authority I can't take back. Victoria hears about this. She finds me at my desk. She leans against it and says, that's not your place to question how we structure our partnerships. You're the assistant. You implement decisions. You don't make them. That night, I go home and I reread every contract I've ever signed for Caldwell Industries. That's not your place, Casey. The words sit in my chest like cold stones. I don't argue. I don't push back. I simply nod and say, understood. But my hands are already moving. I open my file cabinet and I start pulling every vendor agreement. I have copies of everything. I've always kept copies. It's part of being careful, part of being organized. I read through them systematically. Precision Parts. Caldwell Logistics. Miller Manufacturing. Technical Solutions. Fontaine Distribution. Every single contract has the same clause. Every single one names me as the primary signatory. Every one of them states that any major changes to the agreement must be authorized by the person originally named. I'm not an assistant who implements decisions. I'm the person who has authority. Not the kind that comes with a title or a business card. The kind that comes from being the only person who ever bothered to read the agreement carefully. I make copies of every signature page. I make a document that lists each vendor, each date, each clause. I keep it in a folder labeled Reference Materials that I bring to work in my bag. Nobody looks in my bag. Nobody asks what I'm doing in the evenings when I stay late and scan documents. I'm not angry. Not yet. I'm being careful. Being thorough. Being the person who sees what others miss. Being Casey, the assistant who reads everything. Victoria signs the Meridian Supply Agreement on Friday. James watches her sign. He smiles. Looks like things are changing around here, he says to me. He means it as reassurance. It comes out as a warning. Hidden preparation begins in the spaces nobody watches. I'm at my desk at 7 in the morning now. I'm in the office until 7 at night. I'm reading contracts. I'm documenting everything Victoria says. I'm creating a timeline of every decision she's made, every vendor relationship she's touched, every meeting where she's overstepped. I keep a notebook. Not digital. Something she can't find, can't access, can't know about. I write down dates and times. When she told me vendor relationships weren't my place, I wrote it down. When she ignored my warning about the Meridian clause, I documented it. When she told James that I was slowing down growth, I recorded that too. I start researching contract law. Not to sue anyone. To understand what I have. To understand what power actually means when you have documentation and authority in writing. I read about signatory rights. I read about contract amendments. I read about what happens when someone without authority tries to make decisions on a contract. The files I'm building are quiet. They're methodical. They're the opposite of what revenge looks like. They look like organization. They look like a person doing their job carefully. But they're also insurance. They're proof. They're the foundation of something I don't quite know yet, but something I can feel forming. The clause no one read is hidden in plain language. I pull up the Meridian Agreement and I read it aloud to myself, slowly, in the empty office at night. Any modifications to this agreement, including but not limited to pricing adjustments, payment schedule changes, service level amendments, require written authorization from the primary signatory listed on page 1. Page 1 lists Victoria. But it also says something else. Something that makes me pause. In the event of primary signatory unavailability or challenge, authority reverts to the original managing contact per previous agreements within this vendor relationship. I read it 5 times. I write it down carefully. I pull up the original Precision Parts contract from 3 years ago. My name is on it. As the original managing contact. The language is almost identical to what I see in the Meridian Agreement. If Victoria is unavailable. If there's a challenge to her authority. Authority reverts. Not to James. To me. I don't know yet if this will matter. But I know it matters. I know that Victoria signed an agreement that contains language protecting the person who came before her. I know that she didn't read it carefully. I know because I've learned that most people don't read what they sign. They skim it. They look for their name. They see the numbers that matter to them. They miss the clauses that will define everything. I've spent 3 years reading what others miss. Now I'm sitting with something that could change everything. Escalation at home and work happens faster than I expect. Victoria is confident now. She's signed the big contract. She's handling vendor relationships. She's remaking the office in the image she wants. She hires a receptionist to replace some of my duties. She asks me to train her on basic tasks. She sits in on meetings I've been managing alone for 3 years. Each move is small. Each one is designed to push me further to the margins. I'm no longer the first person vendors call. The new receptionist answers phones. I'm no longer the one running meetings. Victoria sits at the head of the table. I'm becoming what she called me. Just an assistant. And I let it happen. That's the key part. I let her push me to the edge because I understand something she doesn't. The more she takes over, the more exposure she creates. The more obvious it becomes that she doesn't know what she's doing. The more she makes decisions, the more of them I can document. James is starting to notice something is off. Vendors are calling him directly now. Precision Parts calls. Caldwell Logistics calls. They're asking questions. They're saying they want to confirm decisions with the contact who originally managed the relationship. James doesn't understand what they mean. He transfers them to Victoria. Victoria tells them to put everything in writing. She's building the walls of her own prison and doesn't even know it. Then I get the call that changes everything. It's Mr. Okafor from Precision Parts. He needs to discuss a major contract change. He wants all the relevant parties in a room. He wants it next week. He sounds serious. I tell him I'll arrange it. The witnesses assemble without knowing they're about to witness anything. The meeting is scheduled for Thursday at 2 o'clock. It's supposed to be routine. A vendor meeting about contract terms. Nothing unusual. Nothing that suggests what's about to happen. But I've invited more people than necessary. I've told James it's important. I've made sure Wilson, the sales rep, will be there. I've invited 2 of our newer managers who handle operations. I've asked our accountant to attend. They all think it's a regular business meeting. Mr. Okafor arrives with 2 of his managers. They look serious. Professional. They've got documents. They've got questions. The room fills slowly as people settle into chairs around the conference table. I'm sitting in the back corner. That's where Victoria has pushed me, so that's where I stay. I have a folder in my lap. Inside are copies of every contract. Every signature page. Every clause. Every document showing who signed what and when. James sits at the head of the table. Victoria sits beside him. She's confident. She's expecting to manage this conversation. She's expecting to control the outcome. She has no idea what's about to happen. Mr. Okafor looks at the room. He looks at James. Then he looks directly at me. "Thank you for arranging this," he says. "I wanted to clarify something about our contract management." I don't say anything yet. I wait. Patience is its own kind of power. Another public slight happens in the opening moments. Victoria jumps in before anyone else can speak. "I'm handling all vendor relationships now," she says, smiling. "So anything you need to discuss, you can go through me. That's how we've reorganized things." There's a pause. Mr. Okafor looks confused. "But who signed our most recent agreement?" he asks. He's holding it in his hands. "According to the document, you did. But I want to understand the structure." Victoria laughs. "That was just a formality. I'm the decision maker now." "That's not what the contract says," Mr. Okafor responds. His voice is still polite, but it's firmer now. He flips to a page. He points to a clause. It says here that any modifications require authorization from the primary signatory. That's you. But it also says that in case of challenge or changes to the managing contact, authority reverts to the original managing contact per previous agreements. He looks at me. The original agreement was signed by who? The room is suddenly very quiet. Everyone stops. Everyone waits. I don't rush to answer. I let the silence sit there. I let everyone understand what's about to happen. Then I say, quietly, me. Every original agreement with Precision Parts was signed by me. The vendor interrupts and everything shifts. Mr. Okafor nods slowly. "That's what I thought," he says. "Because I want to discuss some significant changes to our agreement. And according to what's written here, I need to discuss them with the original managing contact. That's the policy. That's what protects both of us." He turns to me directly. "Can you walk us through what's being proposed? I want to make sure the right person understands the terms." Victoria's smile becomes fixed. "I can explain it," she says. "With respect," Mr. Okafor says, "I need the original signatory to be involved in this conversation. That's what the contract requires." James is looking at Victoria. He's finally putting the pieces together. He's understanding that something about this situation isn't what he thought it was. His face is changing. Confusion. Then something that looks like concern. "Maybe we should let them explain," he says slowly. He doesn't sound confident anymore. Victoria stands up. "This is ridiculous. I signed the agreement. I have the authority." "You do," Mr. Okafor says calmly. "But this contract has a reversion clause. It's there. It's actually quite good business. It protects the company by maintaining continuity." He looks at me again. "If you're comfortable, I'd like to start fresh with you. The original contact. The one who understands our relationship." I finally stand. I take my folder. I walk to the front of the room. I place the copies on the table. My hands are steady. My voice is steady. "I can review this," I say. "I can help us figure out what works." The room has turned. I can feel it. The vendor is looking at me with respect. The managers are looking confused. James is looking like someone who just realized he's made a terrible mistake. Victoria is looking like someone who just lost something very important. Casey handles this, becomes clear in the way the conversation shifts. Mr. Okafor starts speaking to me as the primary point of contact. He's already opened his documents. He's already moved past Victoria. She's still standing. James is still processing. But the focus is entirely on me and Mr. Okafor. We need to discuss pricing adjustments, Mr. Okafor says. Our costs have increased significantly. We need either a price increase or a reduction in our service commitment. What makes sense for your operation, Casey? I've thought about this. Not because I knew he was going to ask, but because this is what I do. This is what I've always done. I think about problems. I think about solutions. I sit with the complexity and find the answer. Can you walk me through the cost increase? I ask. Specifically where the pressure is happening? He does. I listen. I ask clarifying questions. I understand that he's under real pressure. He's not trying to exploit us. He's trying to survive. We can work with that. I need to review our own margins before I commit to anything, I say. But I'm open to exploring options. Let me pull our numbers and we can find something that works for both sides. Mr. Okafor nods. That's the kind of conversation I wanted to have, he says. With you, Casey. That's always been the difference. I realize in that moment that nobody in this room, besides Mr. Okafor, actually knows that I've been handling vendor relationships for 3 years. They don't know that I've kept partnerships alive when others would have let them fail. They don't know that I'm the reason Precision Parts hasn't walked away already. But they're about to find out. The agreement is read aloud and the implications are impossible to ignore. I open to page 43 of the Meridian contract. I read the clause slowly. I read it word by word. I read it in front of everyone in this room. Any modifications to this agreement require written authorization from the primary signatory listed on page 1, I read. In the event of primary signatory unavailability or challenge to authorization, authority reverts to the original managing contact per previous agreements within this vendor relationship. I flip back to page 1. The primary signatory is Victoria Caldwell, as of 3 months ago. I flip to a document I pulled from my folder. The original Precision Parts agreement. The original managing contact, I continue, is me. Signed by me. Dated 3 years ago. I look up. This language exists in every major vendor contract we have. It's a standard protective clause. It's designed to prevent disruption when leadership changes. James is white. He understands now. He understands that Victoria can't actually make unilateral decisions on our major contracts. He understands that every contract she's tried to manage reverts to me. He understands that she signed something that she didn't read carefully, and in doing so, she limited her own power. The consequence, I say quietly, is that if vendors challenge any changes Victoria makes, or if we need to modify these agreements, they have the right to require my involvement. Mr. Okafor nods. Which brings us back to the conversation we should have been having from the beginning, he says. Victoria sits down. She doesn't say anything. There's nothing left to say. The boss realizes first what this means. James is staring at the contracts like they've revealed something he should have known all along. Because he should have. He should have read them. He should have understood what he was delegating when he told me to handle vendor relationships. Instead, he did what Victoria did. He signed things without understanding them. He trusted that everything was fine. He assumed that passing off the work to someone else meant nothing fundamental would change. Now everything is changing. His face goes through a series of expressions. Shock. Then anger. Then something that looks like regret. He's looking at me like he's seeing someone he doesn't recognize. And maybe that's true. Maybe the person he's seeing is the real version of me. Not the assistant he told me I was. Not the supporting player in his company's success story. But the person who was actually holding it all together. I didn't know, he says to Mr. Okafor. I didn't know the agreements were structured this way. You should have read them, Mr. Okafor says. There's no judgment in his voice. Just fact. I know, James says quietly. He's not looking at Victoria. He's looking at me. How long have you known? He asks. A few months, I say. Since Victoria wanted to sign the Meridian contract and I realized she was changing the structure. And you didn't tell me? I tried, I say simply. You told me it wasn't my place to question decisions. The silence in the room is complete. Even the managers are still. Wilson is staring at the table. Everyone is understanding that something fundamental about this company just shifted. Confidence cracks under the weight of exposure. Victoria's hands are on the table and they're shaking slightly. She's looking around the room, searching for something. An exit, maybe. A way to take back control. But there is no way back. There's only forward. This doesn't change anything, she says, but her voice is uncertain. I'm still the person managing these relationships going forward. That's not what the contracts say, I respond. I say it gently. But it's also unmistakably true. Then we change the contracts, she says. She's reaching for authority but she's grasping at air. We can't change them unilaterally, Mr. Okafor says. Both parties have to agree. And to renegotiate, one of us would have to request it formally. That request would go to the original managing contact, who would then decide whether to discuss changes. He looks at me. Is that something you'd be open to? Let me think about it, I say. I'd want to understand what the business case is for changing the clause. But I'm not opposed to having a conversation. Victoria stands up abruptly. This is absurd, she says. I'm not going to sit here and be questioned like this by an assistant. You're not being questioned, Mr. Okafor says calmly. You're just not necessary for this conversation anymore. It's not cruel. It's just true. And that truth is louder than anything else in the room. Calm explanation becomes my voice now. I'm standing at the head of the table. Everyone is listening. I'm not angry. I'm not triumphant. I'm just clear. What just happened, I say slowly, is that we discovered our vendor agreements have protective language that creates continuity. That's actually good business. It means that even if someone leaves the company or even if there's confusion about authority, our partnerships survive. I look at James. 3 years ago, you asked me to handle vendor relationships. I signed the agreements. That created a legal structure where I have specific authority. I didn't intend for that to become a power dynamic. But it did. I look at Mr. Okafor. I'm willing to have a real conversation about your pricing concerns. But it has to be a conversation with full information. No one should be making decisions without understanding the implications. Mr. Okafor nods. That's all I'm asking for, he says. I look at Victoria. I'm not trying to undermine you, I say. But I need to protect this company. I've been protecting it for 3 years. I'm not going to stop now. James is looking at his hands. He's understanding something. Maybe that I've been valuable all along. Maybe that he's been taking me for granted. Maybe that his wife has been trying to erase someone important without understanding what she was erasing. The meeting continues without Victoria's participation. We discuss Precision Parts needs. We talk about creative solutions. By the end of the hour, we have a framework for a revised agreement that works for both sides. As Mr. Okafor leaves, he shakes my hand. Thank you, he says. For being someone I can actually trust. James watches that handshake. He watches the respect in Mr. Okafor's face. He watches everything change. The deal freezes the moment we acknowledge what's real. After Mr. Okafor leaves, there's a pause. Then James stands up. I need to talk to you, he says to Victoria. Not to me. To her. They leave the conference room. The door closes. The rest of us sit in silence. I can hear voices from James's office. Victoria's voice is louder than his. There's anger there. There's the sound of someone realizing they've made a mistake and trying to blame someone else for it. Wilson looks at me. Did you plan that? He asks quietly. I planned to tell the truth, I say. I didn't plan for Victoria to try to take over everything. What are you going to do? He asks. I don't know yet, I say. And I realize it's true. I've been focused on protecting myself. I haven't thought about what comes after. The moment when the structure breaks and something new has to be built. 20 minutes later, James comes back. He's alone. Victoria didn't follow him. He looks tired. He looks like someone who just realized his marriage and his business are both made of much frilier material than he thought. We need to talk, he says to me. Not here. Tomorrow morning. Before the office opens. Okay, I say. He nods and leaves the conference room. The rest of us stay. We don't talk about what happened. We just sit there, understanding that everything has changed, and that we have no idea what comes next. Consequences cascade in ways nobody planned for. That evening, Victoria calls her mother. I know because I run into her in the parking lot and she's crying on the phone, explaining what happened. He's so angry, she's saying. He thinks I tried to steal from him. I was just trying to help the company. She doesn't understand that she was stealing. She was stealing authority that wasn't hers. She was stealing credit for work she didn't do. She was stealing my value and repackaging it as her incompetence. By the next morning, James looks like he hasn't slept. We meet in his office before anyone else arrives. He closes the door. He sits behind his desk like there's supposed to be distance between us. I made mistakes, he says. With you, I mean. I promised you things and I didn't follow through. And I let Victoria take over without understanding the implications. I nod. I don't say anything. The contracts, he says. The way they're structured. I need to fix that. How? I ask. I don't know, he says. That's why I called you in here. What do you want to happen? The question surprises me. In 3 years, James has never asked me what I want. He's told me what the company needs. He's explained what made sense. He's made decisions. He's never asked what I actually wanted. I sit with it for a moment. I think about 3 years of staying late. Of fixing problems that weren't mine to fix. Of watching someone get credit for my work. Of accepting less than I deserved because I believed in something. Then I tell him what I want. The offer James makes is almost what I need to hear. I can promote you, he says. Make you the operations manager officially. You get a salary that reflects what you've actually been doing. You'd report directly to me. Victoria would report to you. It's good. It's more than generous. It's exactly what someone 3 months ago might have wanted. Someone who believed that proving herself would matter. Someone who thought loyalty would be recognized. But something has changed in me. Standing up in that conference room and being acknowledged for what I actually do shifted something. Being called just an assistant broke something too. Not my confidence. Something else. My faith that any of this should be happening here, in this company, with people who took so long to see value they should have recognized immediately. Victoria reporting to me, I say slowly. Is she staying? I'm making her take time off, James says. To think about whether this is the right place for her. That's not an answer, I say. It's the best answer I can give you right now, James says. But I can't promise she'll leave. This is my marriage. I know, I say. And that's why I can't stay. He looks shocked. What do you mean? I mean, I say carefully, that I built this company with you. And I did it without expecting recognition. But the moment someone decides that my work is invisible, and the moment you don't immediately correct them, I stop being able to trust that my value is safe here. I can make it safe, James says. I can protect you. You couldn't protect me from your own wife, I say gently. How could you protect me from anything else? Walking away clean means being very specific about what I need. I don't storm out. I don't cry. I don't make it about feelings. I make it about practicality. I'll stay for 2 months, I say. That's enough time for you to hire a replacement and for me to train them. But I'm leaving. James's face looks like I just broke something. Maybe I did. Maybe that's the cost of recognizing your own worth. What about your severance? He asks. Your benefits? 3 months of severance, I say. And you'll extend my health insurance for 6 months while I find something new. That's it. That's not enough, James says. You've been here 3 years. You've earned more than that. You're right, I say. I have earned more. But I'm not asking for what I've earned. I'm asking for what I need to move forward. He agrees. We shake hands. It feels sad and clean at the same time. I go back to my desk and I start planning the transition. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm just leaving. I'm taking my skill and my attention and my loyalty and I'm taking it somewhere where it will be appreciated from day one. Not as an afterthought. Not as something to acknowledge once someone else points it out. That night, I call Mr. Okafor. I tell him I'm leaving Caldwell Industries. He asks me why. I tell him the truth. He listens. Then he asks if I'd consider consulting for Precision Parts. Help them manage their supply chain relationships. Build systems the way I've built them here. I say yes. The Antagonists Fall unfolds without my participation. Victoria comes back to the office a week later. James has told her about our conversation. He's told her I'm leaving. She seeks me out at my desk. I'm sorry, she says. Her eyes are red. I was wrong about you. I nod. I know, I say. I was threatened by you, she continues. I saw how people respected you and I wanted that respect for myself. So I tried to take your place instead of earning my own. Yes, I say. Are you going to say anything else? She asks. What would you like me to say? I ask. That you forgive me, she says. I do forgive you, I say. But I'm still leaving. She nods. She understands. By the next week, rumors are circulating that she's not coming back to the office. By the week after, James confirms that they've separated. Victoria's attempts to take over created damage far deeper than the business. She lost her marriage trying to steal a position that was never hers to claim. I don't feel satisfied by this. I feel sad. I could have been hurt by her, but I wasn't. I was clear. I was protected. I was prepared. But she destroyed herself trying to destroy me. Reinvention starts quietly. My first week as an independent consultant is strange. I work from my apartment. I talk to Precision Parts about what their supply chain actually needs. I build a plan. I start the work that matters to me. This is different. This is choosing. This is not waiting for someone else to recognize value. This is claiming it myself. I get 2 more consulting clients within the month. Each one comes through referrals. Word travels fast in vendor communities. The person who actually knows how to build relationships. The person who reads contracts carefully. The person who shows up and does the work without needing to be thanked. By month 3, I'm making more money than I ever made at Caldwell. By month 6, I'm hiring someone to help me. The business grows. Quietly. Steadily. Not because I'm trying to prove something. But because I'm doing work I actually care about, with clients who respect me before they even meet me. James calls me once. He wants me to come back. He wants to make it right. He offers me more money. He offers me the title of director. He offers me everything except what actually matters, the genuine respect that comes from seeing someone's value from the beginning. I tell him no. Not just anything €, not just €, becomes the truth I finally understand. I'm sitting in a coffee shop, signing a contract with a new vendor, when it hits me. Nobody is going to fix my value for me. Nobody is going to sit me down one day and say, "We finally see how important you are." That's not how it works. My value was always real. It was always there. The question was never whether I deserved recognition. The question was whether I was willing to recognize myself. Victoria called me just an assistant, and I didn't fight her. I let her define me. But the whole time, I had the power. I had the authority. I had the respect of vendors and the skills to run operations. I was never just anything. The difference between then and now is that now I know it. Not because someone told me. Because I claimed it. Because I walked away. Because I said what I actually needed and I didn't apologize for it. I'm not angry at the person I was. I'm grateful to her. She took the work seriously even when nobody was watching. She read the contracts. She kept the files. She prepared, even without knowing why. She was me. And she was building toward this moment the whole time. Now I'm the person who knows her own worth. And I'm the person who makes sure everyone else knows it too, from day one. That's not just anything. That's everything.